who shall from this dungeon raise a soul enslaved so many ways, with bolts of bones that fettered stands in feet and manacled in hands, here blinded with an eye and there deaf with the drumming of an ear, a soul hung up as twere in chains of nerves and arteries and veins, tortured besides each other part in the vain head and double heart.
Oh, who shall me deliver whole from bonds of this tyrannic soul, which stretched upright impales me so that mine own precipice I go, and warms and moves this needless frame. A fever could but not do the same, and wanting where its spite to try has made me live to let me die. A body that could never rest since this ill spirit it possessed.
What magic could me thus confine within another's grief to pine, where whatsoever it complain, I feel that cannot feel the pain, and all my care itself employs that to preserve which me destroys, constrained not only to endure diseases, but what's worse, the cure, and ready off the port to gain, and shipwrecked into health again.
But physic yet could never reach the maladies thou me dost teach, whose first the cramp of hope does tear, and the palsy shakes of fear. Pestilence of love does heat, or hatred's hidden ulcer eat. Joy's tear for madness does perplex, or sorrow's other madness vex, which knowledge forces me to know, and memory will not forego. What but a soul could have the wit to build me up for a sin so fit? So architects do square and hew green trees that in the forest grew.
In the first stanza, the soul is the speaker. It begins its complaints with a rhetorical question, which shows how it feels uncertainty in its enslavement. The soul furthers this point by comparing its condition to a dungeon and how it feels manacled in the parts of the body. It also says that it feels impaired in the way that the body is impaired through blindness or deafness. In the next line, a simile is used to describe how the soul is bound by the things that keep the body alive, like nerves, arteries, and veins. In the second stanza, the body is the speaker. First, the body compares its relationship with the soul as dictatorial. It also says that the soul causes physical infliction of pain on the body. The body feels worthless within itself and expresses resentment because it knows it cannot pass on after death the way that the soul can. In the last line of the stanza, the body refers to the soul as an ill spirit because it feels doomed by its presence. In the third stanza, the dialogue switches back to the soul. The soul begins again with another rhetorical question. It also uses the word magic, ironically, because in the context of its complaints, the soul sees magic as evil. The soul is angry because it is forced to feel the pain that the body inflicts upon itself. It also admits that it is attempting to destroy the body so it doesn't have to endure the suffering. The soul adds that diseases of the body are bad, but healing afterwards is worse because it is leading it farther away from release. The soul concludes its complaints by comparing its unhappy state with a shipwreck. In the fourth and final stanza, the body concludes its rant by comparing maladies or sicknesses like cramps, palsy, and ulcers to emotions like hope, fear, love, and hatred. The body is upset about its condition because any painful memories that the soul retains, the body is forced to keep. Finally, it concludes the dialogue by comparing itself to a tree in a forest that is torn down and cut apart by an architect, or, in the context of this metaphor, the soul. Soapstone analysis. Speaker. The speaker switches perspective between the soul of one person and the body of that same person. It is clear that neither wants the other present. Both entities are talking to each other, but refer to each other in the third person rather than the second person, as to indicate that neither wants to talk to the other directly. Occasion. The idea that the soul and the body are constantly at war with one another is timeless, and it is clear the author meant for this battle to represent the past and future struggles of mankind. Audience. Because the soul and the body are portrayed as tangible things in conversation, the audience can visualize their conflict much easier. The audience is not involved in the poem, but simply watching the dialogue unfold. However, they may see this conflict between soul and body as a metaphor within themselves. Purpose and subject. The purpose of the poem is to illustrate the eternal paradox of man. Emotions and morals are constantly at battle with the physical aspects and limitations of a person. The soul feels trapped inside the physical confines of the body, and the body does not like the control that the soul has over it. This represents the struggle between the instincts of a person versus the logical reasoning of the mind. Tone. The overall tone of the poem is melancholy. Both speakers are yearning to be released from the shackles they have been bounded by. In the heat of the conflict, in the second and third stanzas, the tone shifts from annoyance to aggression. At the end of the poem, the soul and the body realize that they are stuck in their hateful marriage, and the conflict is left basically unresolved.